Whoa, whoa, yeah. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Whoa, whoa, yeah.
Nate the Great, the breaker of chains, the blazer of trails, the vanquisher of USADA. Very few people were opposed to seeing Nate Diaz fight Jorge Masvidal for this belt. Sure, they thought the theatrics are a little bit over the top, but I've never seen so many people united against one front before, and that's against USADA trying to throw dirt on Nathan Diaz's name and Leon Edwards stepping in to possibly fight that man. I don't think anybody wanted to see that man Leon fight, and when I say anybody, I want to say less than 10% of the community. I feel like that's a fair assumption. But Nathan has redefined tradition. Oftentimes we see athletes who get popped for PEDs or have a USADA failed test. They get thrown into the dust, they get dragged through the mud, and their legacy gets tarnished forever without any due process. But because of the platform that Nathan Diaz possesses, that didn't happen this time. He was willing to give up fighting completely on this fight card for the sake of proving his name, and I absolutely admire that wholeheartedly. There are fighters who did not receive the same treatment. You got a guy like Sean O'Malley who's been out for a year. He claims he's clean. He looks clean to me. I'm no doctor. I don't know. I'm no Chael Sonnen. I can't decipher who's clean and who's not. You got a guy like Chad Mendez who is using cream for his psoriasis. He got a 2-year ban. You got Frank Mir who ate kangaroo meat, who got dropped from the UFC, and who also, I believe he received a 2-year ban as well. You got Vanderlei Silva, lifetime ban. His brother, Nick Diaz, $500,000 fine, and I think he was banned for 2 years. He didn't pay that, and he didn't compete again. He was just like, F it, you know what, I'm done. But Nathan Diaz walked so that these future athletes can run. And I absolutely admire that wholeheartedly. Very few people could do what he did because of the platform that he possesses and the eyes that he brings to the sport. No one can deny that. Dana White even acknowledged it. He said that you can't say Nathan Diaz is not a needle mover. And I absolutely and wholeheartedly agree with that. Sure, I've been critical of him before, but I'm critical of everybody. And also, let's talk about Conor McGregor's whole escapade in Moscow. This man was out here promoting his whiskey, talking about fighting, potential matchups, how he's back, the Mac is back, whatever. Listen, I don't give jack about the Mac is back. I'm sure there are a lot of great Conor McGregor fans out there. I'm sure he's a nice person to some people, but right now, he's got pending court cases. And I'm no investigative reporter. I'm not here to pass judgment. But there's an investigative reporter on Twitter who put up this impressive thread of just newspaper headlines, anecdotal evidence. I'm just like, I'm not going to pass judgment here, but it's not a good look. It does not look good here. And I'm sitting here wondering, how on earth can we allow someone who's facing criminal charges to compete? You got a guy like Desmond Green who was in a vehicular manslaughter accident and it killed 3 or 4 people, and he was able to compete 3 times before they stopped, dropped him, and he got arrested. He competed 3 times. You got Abel Trujillo also. He was involved in, I believe, I don't even want to go over it because it's not a good look. And he's in jail right now, and he was able to compete while he was facing those charges as well. We cannot allow these athletes to do this. I'm sorry. You are not above the law. You are not above recourse. And if it was anybody else, a lot more people would be against him. But because it's Conor and he can throw a left cross that puts people unconscious, people somehow forget their morality. I haven't. I'm going to keep that same energy, and I'm going to be honest with it. Until these cases are settled or until something has happened, he should not be competing. I don't care about him saying he wants to come back with a vengeance and start taking scalps. Dude, you called out a 135er. You're calling out Cowboy, who's coming off of a knockout loss. You're calling out all these people who you probably shouldn't be calling out. Where's the Gaethje call out then if you're so eager to fight? Okay. Where are all the other tough fights? Where's the Dustin rematch? You know what? Even if these court cases are resolved and he's found innocent, guilty, whatever the case may be, I don't want to hear him utter anybody's name that is outside of the top 5, and I don't want him uttering anybody's name who is the champion or going to fight the champion. We don't want to see you fight Tony. I want to see Tony fight Khabib. We don't want to see you fight Khabib again. You don't deserve that rematch right now. Fight Gaethje, fight anybody else. Heck, maybe you should fight the winner of Gillespie versus Kevin Lee this weekend. Maybe you should fight the winner of Masvidal versus Diaz. Who knows? But right now, you need to get your life together. You need to get it straight. And I think that people need to stop turning a blind eye to issues that are outside the octagon. People don't want to get political until it gets political. Stop with the conveniency clause conscience. I'm sorry. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
The one thing that I believe would work everywhere is fighting. Because it doesn't matter what color you are, what country you come from, or what language you speak. We're all human beings, and fighting's in our DNA, man. We get it and we like it.
I'm Michael Morgan, and welcome to this special edition of the Wokecast. Joining me live. Actually, I say this every week, it ain't even live, but it sounds as though it's live because you're on location this week. It's G from WoTV.
Yes, G from WoTV is on 8th Avenue and West 31st at Madison Square Garden.
So you teased this on Twitter. It was about 24 hours ago. You said that you had a big reveal, a big surprise, a big announcement. So it was an announcement about an announcement, but what is that an announcement? Even.
Well, the announcement.
I'm so tired.
I know
so
you.
Late.
You can't even. This time difference. Oh, this time difference is kicking your ass. Meanwhile, it's just only like 7:30 here. But the big announcement was that someone was crazy enough to approve my media credentials and let my crazy MMA Twitter loudmouth ass inside of the open workouts. And I was able to be front and center with the media, like I'm like a legit journalist. It was crazy. It was so surreal. I'm front and center with all the devices and the journalists, and I'm watching. Well, they were supposed to work out, but it was something a little different than what we're used to, but it was still a whole lot of fun. And I'm still here now.
Incredible. And it being UFC 244 fight week, it will be remiss of us not to actually have you on the scene, considering as well being a Brooklyn native. It's literally down the road from you. I mean, in terms of like proximity, where are you in terms of where you live to Madison Square Garden?
Well, it's actually not down the road. Like, New York is huge, and I live in a completely different borough. It's just as loud though, so I feel home. I'm about like 45 minutes away from here. But like I said before, Brooklyn is just as loud, so I'm very comfortable here. So you can hear the police going by as we speak.
Man, that is literally down the road. 45 minutes. I mean, you could do that on a bike. I guess you're taking the subway, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I don't work too far from here. My job is about 20 minutes from here. I live about 45 minutes. So, you know, hanging out here for UFC 244 was nothing. I mean, I live close to here. It was nothing to just get down here and hang out, you know?
Well, put it this way, you know, this opportunity kind of lends itself to possibly a new format for the show because, you know, a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about the fact that they like the fact, you know, you and I have got like a banter, you and I have kind of got rapport, you and I have got, you know, well, we like to chop it up ever so slightly. And, you know, for some people, the interviews not necessarily get in the way, but that's not the focal point of their reason for actually listening to the Wokecast. So what we thought we'd try is basically to chop up, especially, you know, it being fight week, this week as a trial, I guess. But today is basically going to be about your experience of what actually happened at the open workouts and what you saw, who you met, and basically just unpacking what that looked like from a fan stroke media perspective. But, you know, tomorrow you're going to be either doing one-on-ones or scrum interviews with some of the runners and riders from the main card, I believe, of UFC 244. So it's a little bit of a different format. I mean, usually what we do for those long-term listeners is we recap the past weekend. Obviously, we're coming to you guys a little bit late, and that's my fault. You can't blame G for this.
Nope.
Look out for the t-shirts, incidentally. But you can't blame G for this. It's my fault. It was my son's birthday yesterday, so that had to take priority in terms of my time. But we are coming to you nonetheless. And you know what? I'm going to throw it open to you, G, because I'm really, really keen to see and hear what actually went down. I know you took video, but considering that this is a podcast, over to you. I mean, what exactly transpired? What went down? I mean, I understand that from what I can see, the media contingent was heavy down there.
Oh, it was nuts. I mean, when I arrived, I always arrive to places early, so I figured I'll do the same here. I was supposed to be here by 4. I got here at 3:30, and there was already a line lined up just for media. And they were also kind of like a little pushy with it too. Like some guys showed up and they were like, "Oh no, this is not the front of this is the front of the line, and you just showed up, so you got to head on over to the back." And I'm like, "Geez, okay, like." Glad I found the back because they weren't playing, but everyone had like all this massive equipment. Some people knew each other, some people were dolo like me, and we just waited, and then we got in, we verified our credentials, and then we are right up front, no seats or no nothing, but we are front and center with that stage.
And just on, the question of credentials, big shout out to Middle Easy who did the heavy lifting on this. I mean, essentially, I just, sat back and let them do all the hard work in terms of getting you credentialed, getting you front and center. So, as usual, this podcast is powered by Middle Easy, our powerful friends over there making stuff happen. But anyway, I interrupted you.
Oh, yeah. And then first up was, of course, Megan O'Leary just came out and told us, what to expect, who was coming out, and she gave us like a little bit of a time frame. The fans rolled in. They were unruly and typical MMA fans. I fucking love them. They were just crass, screaming out stuff and just like ready for it all. And then like, a few heads popped up. Henry Cejudo's coach with the glasses. He was there. I took a photo with him. He is a really nice he's a really nice guy. He's kind of flirty. I was like, "Ooh, you're a flirty guy." But he was he was just like, "Where you be at? What you on Twitter? You online?" I was like, "Yeah, boo." But he's hella nice. It's so like different, Mike, to like talk about these people, break them down on a podcast, read about them, watch them on TV, and then to like meet them and then they're so cool and friendly is just like, it's surreal. It's amazing. And he was just a sweetheart. Ariel Helwani, I'm saying his name wrong because I mess up everyone's name.
Yeah, Ariel Helwani.
There you go. He showed up. Let me tell you something. On MMA Twitter, a lot of people talk shit about him and he seems hated. But let me tell you, in person, he is not hated. Lines formed. MMA fans lined up to take photos with him. Like the line was...
Lines formed?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir. I took a photo of it. I tried to do the best that I could. But let me tell you, he walked in. Now, mind you, I just said Henry Cejudo's coach with the glasses, and he's somebody that you can recognize because he has a distinct look. And he's his coach. Let me tell you, that line was for Ariel. They lined up.
Wow.
Security came and let them come one by one to him, and he took a picture with each and every fan, and including me. So I was like, it was shocking to see that because there's just so much hate for him on MMA Twitter. But don't get it fooled, Mike. The fans love him, and he was very nice.
Incredible. So in terms of media, I mean, were there any other notable faces, any notable names that you saw apart from Ariel?
Yes, I cannot remember any of their names, unfortunately. I'd have to I don't have my computer in front of me. I'm on the street. Usually I have like Google access and I'd be able to pull it up. But there were some names that I saw. But, I kept to myself. But I did see quite a few media people that I did recognize. And I saw some folks that I didn't recognize, of course. But, I mean, everybody was pretty much polite. And it was really nice to see. But Ariel had to be the main journalist that not only did I recognize, but got love from the crowd. Definitely the most popular MMA journalist that was here tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so obviously once proceedings got underway, who did they start off with in terms of the open workout? I mean, did they actually do a proper open workout? Because I know a lot of these things, they do seem to be almost like just them fulfilling their obligations and showing up and not actually hitting pads. I mean, how did this one pan out? Well,
you nailed it. You hit it right on the head. And I was talking to another journalist there, and I said, when Colby came out and didn't hit pads and kind of just had those women that he pays for to just walk around with him, when he had the paid women with him and did the workout, I had a feeling, I remember saying to myself, they're all going to start doing that. Because it just takes one person to be like, fuck it, I'm not hitting pads. And guess what happened today? Not one person hit pads. No one.
Wow.
Not one. No. Masvidal came out, and let me tell you what he did. He had fans come out and fight each other, only body shots.
Was he the... Was he the first out?
Yes. He was a few minutes late, but he came out.
He's the first out, and he set pace by having fans beat each other up.
Yes, he picked people from the crowd. Mike Brown helped him. People were like clamoring to be picked. People were like, I'm from Brooklyn, let me fight somebody from the Bronx. Get a real N-word up there. Get a real person from the Bronx up there. We know how to throw down. Like, it was hilarious.
Wow.
So
that sounds wild.
But it was only body shots only. But he did not hit pads. One group of kids almost fell off the stage. Like, they had to jump in and be like, you know how it is when people spar, there's always someone that goes too far. It occurred during open workouts. A group of kids almost fell off trying to hit each other. And then at some point, MSG would be like, cut it, they're getting too rough.
See, I saw your picture of Mike Brown. I actually just scrolling through your pictures now. I've seen the picture of Ariel and Mike Brown. And yeah, you got retweeted by Dustin Poirier. So big up for that. And if people want to actually access your pictures and, you know, keep up with the stories which are going to be emerging over the next few days, make sure you check out G from Woe TV on Twitter, and that's at G from Woe TV, and myself, Mike Woe TV on Twitter. But no, back to the sounds like you know what this sounds like? It sounds like bum fights where they used to get like homeless people off the streets and just let them fight each other.
Yo, that
sounds like.
Mike, I wasn't ready for bum fights, but you nailed it. I was kind of taken back by it. I was like, okay, like Matt, and then he invites people on the stage, and there's like different bouts going on. So one by one, these kids are fighting each other. No headshots, but at the same time, Mike, nobody's a boxer. It looks crazy, and then Masvidal is the commentator.
Days.
He's like, ooh, yeah, nice one. Ooh, spinning back body blow. Like, it was ridiculous.
How about the weight classes?
Oh, there were no weight classes. It was just like, yo, where you from? Brooklyn. And then one dude, because, you know, I'm originally from Long Island, so they pulled a dude from Long Island out the crowd. Immediately he got bored, because I guess people don't think, people from the suburbs, I guess, can't fight. So as soon as he said he was from Long Island, all the other boroughs were like, boo, get him out of here. And, you know, me being from Long Island, I'm like, come on, y'all. But it was different. But I will say this, as much fun as I had, Mike, I do miss seeing fighters hit pads. Like, I hope, like, some fighters keep the tradition of, like, I'm going to go out here, take my shirt off, and hit pads and do some funky stuff with my trainer. Like, it was fun, though. I'm not going to deny that, you know, the street fighting, the bum bouts. Because, you know, they were very fan-friendly this go-around. You know
something? Having been to so many open workouts, having been to so many media days, this sounds like a refreshing change. This sounds like something which would look quite fantastic on camera, because I've never seen anything like that before. As I say, I've been to the rather staid and boring
traditional
fighters hitting pads, fighters doing like the traditional open workout, and this sounds incredible. This sounds right up my street, because, you know, us at Woe TV, we don't do the norm. We do things off the kilter. We do things off the beaten track. We do things a little bit differently. So that would fit in incredibly well with our content. That's just incredible to hear.
Well, thank God I was there, because we definitely have footage of bum fights, and also Burrow versus Burrow. I tried my best, and it was so funny. The crowd was going nuts. Like, people were like, "Pick me, Mike Brown, pick me." It was crazy. And then a part of me was like, do any women fight? Maybe I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll be a bum and fight another woman. But then I was like, no, I'm going to sit right here and take footage. I'm getting way too excited.
But you see, you kind of underline an ongoing theme in life. That's why women live longer.
Yeah, you saw how I was like, nah, I think I'll just keep doing this media thing. You know, like I got excited, but I was like, nah, I'm good. F around, get too excited, get into a real fight, and get thrown out, and that'll be the footage you have, is me getting arrested, you know. So no.
So you mentioned Masvidal. You mentioned Mike Brown. Any other faces that actually turned up and actually did anything of note?
Oh yeah, I mean, and I will say this as well, like Masvidal did have the bum fights, but he did answer fan questions and whatnot, but the fans did ask a lot of like stupid, ridiculous questions. Like they don't come like prepared with questions like you know how media might have some questions in their phone or things that they've worked on. Fans are just like, what about Colby? But he did say something interesting, and I thought it was, he didn't want to bash Colby and Ben Askren because they definitely came up. But he did mention that if he ever gets his hands on Colby, it'll be worse than what he did to Ben Askren.
Wow.
And then he also said, I don't want to talk badly about none of them. And he also liked it when a fan asked him, hey, what was it like to end Ben Askren's career? And he didn't answer, but he kind of clapped and went along with the crowd when everybody just erupted, you know, which was kind of cool. But he didn't. But I like that he didn't talk shit about him too much or Colby. He's moved on. He's moved on, but he's still ready to throw that 3-piece in soda if they cut up. That's the impression I got.
Okay, so did Diaz do a workout?
Oh no, he didn't work out, but he did come out in his all black sweats, prepared not to hit the pads, and he came out. He shouted out his team. He answered fan questions. The fans adored him. And he didn't really like say much. He just answered some questions, but he loves his team. He shouted out his coach. I got a great picture of them together too. His coach and Kron Gracie made an appearance. And
okay.
Yes.
Was Nick there?
No, and a fan. The question that struck out the most when I was there and while Nate was on the stage was, is your brother going to corner you? And his response was, man, I hope he does, which I thought was interesting. But
oh, wow. So I take it he left the vape pen at home. I mean, I don't
there was no smoking. Yeah, there was no blunts or CBD. I expected him to. After the bum fights, I was like, Nate's going to come out here and smoke a bong. You know, if we're not hitting pads, we might, let's get high. But no, he was well behaved, and also Yancy Madero is a part of his team, and he was there. And I love that Nate includes the whole team. He lined them up on the stage, and he shouted out every member of his team, and they took like great pictures and stuff, which was cool. Nobody else did that, you know.
Is Jake Shields still in his entourage? Are they still down together?
He wasn't there tonight, but yes, he is still in his entourage as far as that Scrap Pack and Gilbert Melendez. Yep.
I know that there was a little bit of chatter on Twitter, especially, end of last week, and it was talking about the fact that, Darren Till was having visa issues. Obviously, when you live the raucous lifestyle that he does and gets into a little bit of trouble, bother with the law. Yeah, that does actually hinder your prospects in terms of travel, in terms of working in the US. Now,
correct.
From what I gather, all of that has actually been sorted. He's on his way to New York as you and I are actually speaking and creating this webcast. So more than likely tomorrow, if he's not too jet lagged, you'll be getting to speak to him. I mean, hence the reason why you didn't get a chance to see him today, because he was actually on a plane. But it's fantastic to hear that those visa issues, those visa ills, those visa hiccups have actually been ironed out now and sorted out now, and he will actually be making it, because that chatter was getting louder and louder, and especially today, you turning up there and you reporting back that he hadn't actually arrived. It's good to hear that all of that has been sorted.
Oh yeah, and I got some scoop on that as well. The other journalists were saying he might arrive on Friday.
Oh, Friday.
Well, that's the word on the street. So it's either going to be tomorrow or it's Friday. It's not confirmed. These are the things I heard from like the journalists while I was waiting, to get in, and they were all kind of like upset that he wasn't going to be there today. And I also read that the UFC is not playing around with people's visas or having issues with this card. They have Jared Cannonier on deck to fight Kelvin Gastelum if anything transpires. But it looks like Darren Till is a go. That is a definite. And the reason why I say that is because Kelvin Gastelum came out too during the open workouts. No, he did not work out. I know that's your next question. He wasn't even dressed to work out. I'm telling you, it was a very laid back, just hang out with the fans type of atmosphere. He was very polite. He hung out with a lot of fans, and he answered their questions, but they didn't have good questions prepared. So what one fan asked a question that I thought was excellent, and this is how I know Darren Till is fighting tomorrow. the fan was like, "Are you prepared for Jared Cannonier?" And I was like, "Ooh, good one. Finally, a fan is thinking." And he was like, Kelvin's response was, "No, like, I'm fighting Darren Till, and trust me, he's gonna show up on Saturday." And then that was end of story. So even his competitor, his opponent, is saying he's gonna show up. And here's one more thing, Michael. I kind of got frustrated with the fans just kind of blurting out nonsense. Like, what do you think of Robert Whittaker? And even Gastelum was like, "I'm fighting Darren Till. What do you mean, what do I think of? Next question." So I asked him a question. I couldn't take it anymore. And I don't think I was supposed to because I'm media, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
So I was just like, "Hey, Kelvin, what do you think of the president coming to UFC 244? What are your thoughts on that?"
Question.
Right. And, I wasn't supposed to say it because somebody pointed at me and was like, "Hey, she's media." And I didn't care. But he was like, "Oh, there's quite a few Mexicans fighting on this card. And we're going to show him being Trump, that a lot of us aren't bad. And we're going to go out there and put on a show and kick his ass and kick ass." And the crowd erupted.
Answer.
Yeah. So he kept it like kosher. He didn't really reveal his political alignments or his, but he just said that not all immigrants are bad. I'm Hispanic, and we're going to show him that we're not all bad and kick some ass and put on a show. And the crowd clapped and whatnot. So I didn't regret my question, and I couldn't take it anymore, Mike. Some of the fans are driving me crazy with their dumbass questions. So I jumped in.
See, if I was in that pit with you, I'd be worrying myself that, with Darren Till coming in Thursday, possibly Friday, that's a massive worry. How is he going to adjust to the jet lag? How is he going to acclimatise himself to the fact that, his body clock is obviously on a different time frame? Usually, with mixed martial artists, they'll enter the territory or enter where they're actually fighting. They'll do that, say, a week or even 2 weeks or even a month out. He's doing this literally hours away from his fight. So that's a real worry for me, and that's one of the questions I would actually pose to Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, how does he think that's actually going to affect, if anything, or give him a competitive advantage over Darren Till?
Yeah, and with jet lag is it's quite bothersome. I've had it, and it just feels like, for anyone that hasn't experienced jet lag feels like you just woke up from a coma and you cannot shake it. Like,
it messes you up.
Yeah, and it lasts for like 2 or 3 days. You are just tired from the time you open your eyes till you go to bed, and sometimes you can't even go to sleep, but you're exhausted, and it's a horrible feeling. It does go away, but I think someone like Darren Till is going to dig deep and ignore that. It's jet lag. It's not he's in actual coma. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's too worried about that, but you do make a good point, Mike. It could affect him. And Mike, you're not lying. When I went on the blogs and I went online and did my little research for the fighters that are on this card, a lot of them are already here. Johnny Walker's being a tourist in between media.
There you go.
Most of them are here getting acclimated to New York and also having a good time. They're being tourists and relaxed and settling into the environment and getting used to the time zone, so
Exactly.
you make an excellent point. He's on a plane.
The more I think about it, the more I feel quite confident in my pick. I picked against Darren Till. Now, as a Brit, obviously it was a very hard decision, but I'm not going to go with, the fact that just because he's a Brit. I'm going with the fact that I think that this is a really tough matchup for him. He's going up against someone who gave the current champ one of the fights of his life. He gave the current champs so many lumps on his face that, he looked quite deformed. Gave the current champ, I would say, one of the toughest challenges I feel he's ever faced in his fight career. So,
absolutely,
with all that in mind, this isn't going to be a walk in the park. This is going to be a tough matchup for Darren Till, but he's coming in at a competitive disadvantage. He's coming in sluggish, he's coming in slow, he's coming in where he's going to have his cardio tested because he's catching or carrying extra weight anyway.
Exactly.
But as well as that, like you say, it's almost as though he's going to be basically carrying that coma-like attitude to the cage, and I just feel this can't end anything or any way other than badly.
I totally agree, because I think what you're discussing with me, Mike, is there are just too many X factors involved here. We don't know what he's like with all that meat on his bones. You know, we just really don't know. And it's not about his chin, it's about his cardio. It's about when you put on more weight, you get a little slower. Do you know what I mean? And getting a little slower is not going to help you against someone like Kelvin Gastelum that has very fast hands.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel me?
I don't know about you, but you remember when it first emerged, the footage of Darren Till like hitting pads, he looked incredibly sluggish.
Yep.
He really did. He looked super slow, and I thought to myself, well, maybe he's just acclimatizing obviously to the weight. But when you add that in with the fact that he's going to be basically coming off a plane in the next 48 hours,
right,
that's going to, I feel, add to the sluggishness. That's going to add to the slowness, and I think that's not going to really end. It's not going to end well for him. I really don't see that being a positive.
Yeah, I've been saying it since they booked this fight. I think like the UFC does not do what boxing does, which is give you like warm-up fights before you really start getting those contenders. Like they threw him to the wolves initially, and now they're doing it again in his new weight class. Kelvin is no joke, and I think the best way for Darren to beat him is wrestling, like Chris Weidman controlled him. Do you understand? And I don't really think wrestling is Darren Till's forte, even though he has excellent takedown defense. I just really don't see him going after that single or double leg like some American type of wrestler that can control him and grapple him like Chris Weidman did. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's his path to victory, but we're not dealing with a wrestler here. So I don't know. I wish him the best of luck. I am quite concerned. But we shall see what happens, because let's not forget Darren Till has a heavy left hand, and it's going to be even heavier at this weight class at middleweight. So if he connects there's always a chance, Mike. So if he connects, he can put his lights out. You just never know, but we'll see.
Exactly. Well, just before you go, I just wanted to gauge, did you get any reaction, when you started to tweet, when you started to send pictures from MSG, did you get any reaction from the haters? Because I'm sure that they were kind of like spinning in their Twitter graves when they actually read and saw those pictures and read those tweets. I'm out here living such a good life outside of Twitter that I post and don't even notice. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm not, doing this podcast and now doing Media Scrum, I'm traveling and living a good life even when I'm not on Twitter. So they don't concern me. You know what I mean? Like, I could care less, and if they're hating on me, I mean, have fun. I'm out here living a good life. I'm having a ball. Then tomorrow, Mike, guess what? I'm not going to work tomorrow. I'm coming right back here to take more pictures and talk to people on Twitter. And now I get to try to interview some folks. So I'm pumped. I ain't concerned with them. Nice. Started from the bottom. Now you're here.
Facts.
Okay. Well, just before you sign off, we'll be back tomorrow. So for the listeners, if you open up your iTunes feed or your Apple feed or your Stitcher feeds or wherever you're getting this podcast, we'll be there waiting in probably about 24 hours when the next episode actually comes out. And I like this kind of like reactive and on the ground format. I'm really hoping that we do more of these because it's very vibrant. I love the screaming cars in the background. I love the horns.
Oh my God, why?
The almost organic feel to this. It's less sterile than just, being inside and, almost studioizing and polishing it. I just feel that this has got a real vibe to it. I'm really, really feeling it. So,
good.
Just in the meantime, though, just to reiterate where people can actually get a hold of you, join in the conversation, and see when the next episode is out. You're at G from Woe TV, and I'm at Mike Woe TV on Twitter. So until the next episode, make some trouble.
As always, be back in the morning, Mike.
Peace.